This morning, the White House is trying to reassure the public once again, saying once again that the nighttime drone sightings that have sparked concern across multiple states now are not a threat to public safety and pose no national security threats either. Moments ago, I spoke to the White House National Security spokesman, John Kirby, about this.
I mean, when people shoot video of that, Kate, I mean, you're seeing the lights on these things, the navigation lights. That's what's required if you're going to be flying in U.S. airspace at night, are navigation lights. So clearly they're being operated in a lawful and legal way, and we've seen nothing from their behavior, nothing, that tells us there's a public safety threat or a national security threat. I do want to add one point, though. We still got about 100 leads that the FBI is following up on, and if we learn something that contradicts that, or something more, something additional, something more specific, my goodness, we're going to come public and we're going to talk about it. We have been trying to be as transparent with the American people as we can. But I think it's also important to remember that there are 1 million drones registered with the FAA, and thousands upon thousands fly in U.S. airspace legally every single day.
And today, the House Intelligence Committee is going to receive a classified briefing on these drone sightings. Joining me right now is the Executive Director of the Commercial Drone Alliance, Lisa Ellman. She is an expert on drones and law and someone who knows the limitations of these laws right now. It's great to see you, Lisa. So when I talked to John Kirby this morning, he said they've not detected any threats, but he also, and right there at the end I thought was important, he says what this whole episode shows is just how many drones there are out there today. You're an expert in this space. How would you describe the explosion in drone usage these days?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you, Kate, for having me. It's great to be with you today. And yeah, the airspace is evolving, and that is a good thing, right? The technology has moved quickly forward, and what used to be considered toys are now tools for industry and public agencies. And the use of commercial drones, legitimate commercial drone uses, are growing exponentially by the day, right? For amazing life-saving use cases, such as infrastructure inspection, inspecting our bridges, crop spraying, saving lives, medical drone delivery. That's just a few examples. But that said, all technologies can be used for good and for bad, and drones are no exception there. So the commercial drone industry it's very important for our industry to engage with communities, to utilize a drone digital license plate known as remote identification, to be transparent and electronically conspicuous in the airspace. Where there are drones that are not engaging with communities, not following the rules, of course, there we worry. And the policies have really lagged behind, Kate, that, and there's a lot that can be done here, including by those in Washington. I sympathize with the frustration of millions of Americans across the country who just want to know what's happening, who want to know what's flying in the air. That's a very fair question to ask, and there's a lot that can be done here in Washington from a policy perspective to close the gap between the technology and the policy.
And that's one thing we've heard over and over, is that this also has shown not just how many drones there are out there these days, is that once again, technology has advanced much faster than the laws and regulations around them. But there is, at its core, Lisa, is the fear. It's not of the great commercial uses of it. It's the fear of the rogue drone, the nefarious use of a drone. And what I feel like we've heard throughout these weeks is that communities feel like they don't have the authority to be able to handle and investigate drones. How limited is our nation's ability right now to respond to a rogue drone?
It's incredibly limited, Kate. That is why we need legislation. And there has been legislation on this pending for years that would fix this problem. So unfortunately, under current law, drones are treated essentially as manned aircraft. And there are laws that would criminalize, for example, hacking into a computer or hacking into a landline telephone. That could also potentially apply to drone detection technologies, which at the end of the day, what we all want here is information. We want transparency. We want to know what's in the air. Like you said, there is technology out there that can solve these problems. Much of it is currently illegal under the law. And that's why there is bipartisan consensus legislation pending in Congress that's been pending for years now that needs to be passed. I really hope that the House and the Senate, there's a Senate version, which we've been on the record supporting. There's a House version that's been much improved over the last year. bring the House and the Senate together and let's get this done before the holidays, because this will do a lot in terms of closing some of these legal gaps that our towns and communities are feeling right now.
So interesting. When you hear people, including the incoming president, suggest that with a most immediate solution, in the absence of what you're talking about, is to just shoot these things out of the sky. You've got New Jersey saying, dear God, please do not try to do that, people. Just your reaction as someone in this space of just, that is the level of where that people have gotten, is like, maybe we should just shoot them out of the sky.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, again, look, I understand the frustration. We all want to know what's going on. We all want to know what's in the air. The legislation is key. The use of remote identification, the use of a digital drone license plate, like we talked about. It's important to note that there are very legitimate commercial drone uses out there that are growing by the day, and that's a really good thing. So we certainly don't want to, shoot and kind of ask questions later. We need the information in order to understand who's flying and when, and that's why transparency is so important. Electronic conspicuity, drones should be talking to each other. The commercial drone industry is engaging with communities for that reason. It's incredibly important for the drone community to build public trust, but of course we want to enable the good while preventing the bad. And we do need to enable the limited use of, in case of rogue or unauthorized drones flying where they shouldn't be that present a threat, there needs to be ways for towns and communities to respond. And that's why this legislation is so key.
I'm not even going to pretend to understand all the ins and outs of drone technology or the laws that we need to regulate them. Just know that this episode seems to expose that this bipartisan legislation, they need to be taking another really close look at this right now, because there's got to be some kind of a solution. Lisa, it's great to see you. Thanks for coming in. John.
Thanks for having me.